hanging out with successful bar exam takers, and we have a new successful Florida bar exam taker with us today, Tim Burns. Hey, Tim, how are you?
Hey, Jackson, how are you?
Good. You must be feeling pretty good today.
I am. I very much so am.
Yeah. You just took the Florida, well, you took the Florida bar a little while ago. You just got your results in the last few days, and good results, huh?
Yes, very good results.
Yeah, you were just telling me before we went online you had a total score of 143. You need 136 to pass, so it wasn't like you just inched over. You beat it by a pretty good margin. Yeah. Well, I want to just ask you to kind of share your story and tell people a little bit about your background and what led you to be taking the Florida bar this year.
Well, we used to live in New York. We came down here about 3 years ago. I'm a retired New York City police officer, and I took the bar in New York in 2006, I believe, passed it. I practiced for about 10 years there. And then we decided to move down. Things got very, very hectic in New York, so we decided to move down to Florida, and I took a break a little bit from the law and everything else. I kind of hung out at home, and I decided I was going to take the bar.
Yeah. Your wife, in other words, your wife told you, stop bugging me.
Yeah, pretty much. I had to find something to do with myself because you can only watch Maury Povich so many times.
Okay, fair enough. It must have been kind of a daunting thought, though, to go back and take the bar exam, 12 years after the last time you had done it.
It's why it took me 2 years to do it down here, because I kept thinking of I've taken it before, so I knew what was coming up. And I know I haven't been to law school in 10 years, so I realized that this is going to be a lot more difficult than the first time I took the bar. You graduate law school, you take the bar, you kind of have all that stuff in your head already. I took a bar review course up there too, and everything molded in, and I passed. I realized, this is going to be tough.
Yeah. And how did you reach the conclusion ultimately that it was worth putting in the time and the money in Florida, because it's expensive to file an application too?
I had sticker shock when that page came up. I didn't realize it was going to be even close to that much. I have an offer from somebody to work with him. He wants to give me a job doing something, and I figured I can't really turn it down. The guy makes a lot of money. He offered me a lot of money. I figured I got to get this thing going now.
Okay, so money is a good motivator.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. And you made the decision to actually sit for the bar exam. How much in advance of the test? How many months?
I did it about a month before. I had a month. I can't remember when I started it, but I know I had a month before everybody else. So I probably started in around April. Because I know everybody else was starting to come into it in May, and I'd already had a month head start on them.
Okay. And how many hours a week would you say you were studying?
I was doing probably at least 5 or 6 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about what that 5 or 6 hours a day looked like for you. Can you kind of give me a sense of a study day for you?
Yeah, I would wake up in the morning. I'd get my son off to school. I come back. I had a little study section in my bedroom set up, and I had your checklist, and whatever your checklist said to do, that's what I did. I didn't think this through. I wanted to do my own thing, even with your checklist, but I kept going back to the checklist and saying, just do what he says. And that's what I did. If it said read these pages, I read the pages. Some of them were tough to read, but I did it.
Yeah. And so the study structure was read and then watch a lecture and then do practice questions and then kind of go back and pick up more questions as you went along, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you're studying, let's say, April, May, June, July, so about a 4-month study period, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that's a pretty good period of time. I mean, typically 4 months is about, I think, a good threshold to begin the studies. How much before the exam had you gotten through all of the subjects and started your review? Do you remember where you were or when that was?
I was about a week before you said, I forget where you said it, whether or not it was one of these online things where you said you should be up to your review part now. I had started my review a week before that. So I was about a week ahead of you.
Okay, good. And what was your family's view as you were doing this? I mean, were they supportive? Were they like, "Oh my God, he's gone crazy"? He's locked up in the studying, or
No, my wife understood. She's a lawyer, so she gets the whole thing. My son didn't like it. When I went through law school last time, he was 2. Now he's 13, so well, he's younger than 2. He didn't like the idea that I was sitting in that room with the door closed all by myself, coming out every so often just to eat and then right back in. He didn't like that.
yeah, it's hard on your family, isn't it?
Very hard. And I didn't show my wife the video that you have there, like the video for the families, but I definitely did talk to my son and let him know what is coming up, how this is going to be.
Yeah. What's his reaction when he found out you passed?
His exact words were, so that, because he said, "You're going to pass, right?" And I go, "We don't know." I didn't want to. I felt pretty good, but I said, "Listen, we'll see, we'll see." He goes, "As long as you don't have to go back into that room again." I said, "Well, that might be happening." He goes, "No, no way." He was overjoyed that I passed.
Yeah.
Overjoyed.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. Since you took the New York bar back in the days when it was the New York and not the uniform bar exam, I think you're in a good position to kind of talk about, there's some differences between the New York bar in the old days and the Florida bar today, wouldn't you say?
Yes. Yes. I remember that the New York bar had a performance test or something.
It did, yeah.
And I think the layout was the same. I mean, I don't know if I'm blacking out on this, but I remember I remember the MBE was the MBE, and it was sort of the same thing. I'm pretty sure it was 100 questions morning and night. But New York Day, I believe, I don't think there were that many essays. I don't really remember. I know it was multiple choice essays, and then there was that performance test.
Yeah, and of course the MBE's now got an extra subject, so you had to learn some new things. Was there much carryover for you from the New York studies that you had done, or did you feel like you were starting from scratch?
I thought I was starting from scratch, and let me explain to you what my thought process was when I started this. I thought that I'm going to take a bar review class, and I'm going to take the bar and fail it, and that's going to be law school. And then I'm going to take the bar review class again, and I'm going to take the bar and I'm going to pass it. That's what I was prepared for. I expected to fail the bar. Just because, especially when I started studying for it, I was looking at some of this stuff, like in the charts, and I practiced law. I tried many, many criminal and civil cases. Evidence is evidence, but like some of the tort things, I'm like, I don't remember this. There were some things I was looking at in your studies. I'm like, I never heard of this before in my life. And I'd go to my wife. She goes, "Yeah, absolutely. I remember that stuff." I'm like, wow, this is going to be tough.
Yeah, well, she could have been bluffing too. It's always possible.
She could have been.
Yeah. She could have been. Just kind of spurring you on. Come on, you can do it. That's very cool. Yeah, and the reason I'm asking that is that we have a lot of people that come from New York into Florida to take the exam, and I think sometimes the presumption is a bar exam is a bar exam, but in fact they are very different tests, and they have different approaches and different things that are going on. And the bar exam has gotten a lot tougher over the last 10 years, and so it's a big challenge. It's a lot of work, and you got to take it pretty seriously, as you obviously did.
One of the things that I can say was when I left the bar, there was nothing on that bar that I haven't heard about. I didn't get every question right. There were some questions I was like, I don't know what the answer is, but I definitely have seen this somewhere, somehow. And I also remember what you said. If you don't know what it is, just go, move on. Don't dwell on it. And I did that. I took that to heart. If I didn't know what it was, I took a guess and I moved on, and I never thought about it again.
That's great. And I think that makes a big difference. And obviously it worked really well for you. So let's talk a little bit about what it was like going to Tampa and walking into the room, and there's 3,000 plus people in Tampa for the exam. Can you talk a little bit about that process and experience?
Yeah. In New York, you can pick wherever you want to take it. I think there's 4 or 5 places.
Right.
And go to Buffalo, there'll be about maybe 250 people taking it with you. But I took it in Manhattan, where it's pretty much set up the same way. But it's everybody from the whole state. So once you get there, I stayed in a hotel in Tampa, even though I live about an hour and a half away. I stayed in a hotel. I walked to the hotel. You walk in, and there are rooms set up for the Florida law schools. They can go in there and kind of hang out and do their thing. But everybody else is there taking the bar at the same time. It's not a madhouse. I thought it would be. It's not. I mean, the first day you have to all get your badges. So you line up for your badges, and it was, A and B, B and C's, So the badges were given out pretty quickly. Everybody's in the same position you are. Everybody's kind of quiet and everybody's nervous. And then you start to make your way toward the metal detectors, and, you're lining up here, you're lining up there. But they pretty much know what they're doing. It's daunting. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's daunting when you're a little bit older and you're not just coming out of law school is that sense of, oh my God, look at all these kids.
and all the people my age kind of gave each other like a, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to stick together.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so day one is the Florida part of the exam. It's the essays. Did you type or handwrite your essays?
I handwrote. I know you don't like that, but I handwrote just because I'm not a computer guy. I'm just not. And I can write forever. I'm very, you know what it is? When I was doing the essays, when you said to do an essay, there are times where I'm like, I'm not going to write this one out. I know it. Then I put your video on and you guilt me into writing it. So turn your video off. I did exactly as I was told. I turned your video off and I begrudgingly wrote out an essay. And I'm glad I did, because the method became second nature. I don't think I thought about how I'm going to write this essay. I just started writing. And then when I was done with the essay, I looked at it and I'm like, wow. So how I'm supposed to write it anyhow. I forgot about the way to write it. It just happened to be that way. It's almost like muscle memory.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
Right,
Yeah.
you're nervous. So you see this essay, and the first time you look at the essay on the day of the bar, you're like, oh my God, I don't know. Have any idea what the answer is to this? And then you just start writing, and next thing you know, you're like, oh wow, that's what it's supposed to look like. All right, I'm off. I'm good.
Yeah, that's good. And I think it's useful to hear, for people to hear, that you can handwrite and pass. It's not the preferred method, but it can be done for sure. And I think it's more important what you write than whether you handwrite it or type it. So I think that's important. And getting that sense of the flow of the writing and being able to express, how the law is being used is certainly more important than just cramming down a bunch of rules and elements and throwing them on the page. So definitely there. Florida's multiple choice questions, we said to you before the exam they were going to be pretty awful. Were we accurate about that?
Yeah, they were terrible. But I knew that. Going in there. So when I got down to two answers and having absolutely no idea which is the right answer, I said, I've heard this before. I've heard this over and over and over again. This is going to be terrible. And instead of getting all roused up about it because one after the other, it's like, oh man, this is a terribly written question. I just said, I know it's terribly written. I've been told 1,000 times they're not going to be good questions. So let's just do it. Get it down to the two, pick one and move on.
Yeah.
And let it go.
Good. That was great. So Tuesday finishes up and you stayed in a hotel, you said. So, was it a hotel with a lot of bar takers?
Yes.
Yes. It's an interesting experience, isn't it, to hear them running up and down the halls during the night, knocking on each other's doors, saying, what did you answer to so-and-so?
That I saw between the days. And I know every bar, review course tells you don't talk to people before.
Right.
And they were doing exactly what you're not supposed to do. So what I did is I just walked. I walked outside and inside and outside. Mm-hmm. I just kept walking back and forth, trying not to listen to anybody or hear anything I don't want to hear. Because everywhere you sat, two people would go down and go, did you know that question about this one and that and this? What did you answer? What did you put on this?
What's dependency? What's professionalism? What's that?
I don't want to hear it because you're done. Your essays are done. There's no sense in going over what you should have or shouldn't have written on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second day of the exam in Florida is the multi-state, and 7 subjects, 100 questions in the morning, 100 questions in the afternoon. It's a pretty grueling day, isn't it?
It's mentally exhausting.
Yeah. I think particularly because it's on the heels of you've just done a day of testing, it feels like, oh my gosh, kind of an endurance test in some ways, right?
Yes, it's very, very it's very taxing on your brain, not your body, but your brain. It's just And you take all these practice questions, but you do all the evidence in a row, and then you do all the and then you start at the end of your course, you start doing the tests. And when you get an evidence and then a property and then a diffs and this and this and this, and you go on and on and on, it starts, you're used to going answer, question, answer, and now you're just going question what your answer is and moving on to the next. So that's why, again, I'm glad I did it exactly how you told me to do it, because you start to rely on the fact that your answer is going to be, once you flip it over, you're going to see your answer.
Yeah.
And as you get further on in your course, you start taking tests, and you take the whole test, and then you grade it.
Yeah, and that helps, I think, to sort of evolve your study so that when you get to the real thing, it just feels normal. It feels like that's what you're doing. Yeah, good. So then you finish the exam, and you've got about a 6-week waiting period, right, before results come out. How'd that feel? What was that like?
You go through these ups and downs. You start to, I felt like I did okay. But, you have no idea how you did it. I have absolutely no idea how I did. But I thought I walked out of it going, there's not one subject on there, one question hadn't seen somewhere before. And I was waiting for 6 weeks. And then I heard your video when you said, I don't know what video it was, what day it was, where you go, if you think you did okay, you probably did okay. If you didn't think you did okay, you don't know. And I said, you know what? Whatever. It is what it is. Yeah. I just got to wait. Yeah.
And Florida produces results online. They release them online. So what was that like on Monday morning?
It was, first thing I did, I tried it with my phone. And as I kept getting down to my file number, it would pop back up. So I had to put my phone down. Now, my wife's standing right here. My son's standing right here. He's got to go to school. And he wants to know whether or not he's going to lose his dad for the next 3 months into a corner of a room. So I get onto the laptop, and I get down, and it says, fail, pass, pass. No. And my wife goes, did you pass or fail? And I said, I don't know. I have to go all the way up to find out what fail, pass, pass means. And no. So it's Part A, Florida, fail. Part B, pass, overall pass, and then am I admitted, ready for admission? I didn't take the MPRE yet, so no, I'm not ready for admission. Right. So I go, she goes, does that mean you pass? I go, let's double check, let's go back down. I go, this is my number, fail, pass, pass. She goes, you passed. I go, you sure I passed? I said, there's a word fail in there. I go, how can you fail and pass? She goes, I don't know. It just says fail, pass, overall pass. So just go with it.
Yeah, and that's what it means. And so it's a compensatory model. They take your Florida points and your multi-state points, add them together, divide by 2. If the number's 136 or greater, you pass. And you passed by a wide margin. So you had a great multi-state and a pretty close to passing Florida score. So the net was really in your favor by a pretty wide margin. But that's a pretty weird feeling. All right. So now you figured out you passed. Your family's pretty happy.
Yes, everybody's happy.
Yeah. So they're
Facebook post and everybody's making phone calls.
There you go. Okay, and now you've got to do the MPRE, and then you get to take this job, and we come full circle, right?
Yeah, and you will write about the background check. I keep getting a letter in the mail going, send me this, 2 copies of this, 1 copy of that. I'm finding stuff from 15, 20, 30 years ago. Send me one of those. And
Yeah, it really is. It's jumping through a lot of hurdles in Florida, and eventually you get through it. But boy, what a pain it is. So all the way through. Well, what advice would you have for somebody who is already licensed somewhere else, coming to Florida to take the bar exam? What would you tell them?
I would just tell them that you forget a lot about what you did. It depends on how long ago you took the bar. I took it, 12 years ago. So you forget about how much you studied for the bar, and you think your knowledge of the law is going to help you. It's not. It might even hurt you. Mm-hmm. You need to learn some stuff. The MPRE, you practice the MPRE hopefully one day in your entire career.
Right.
To just do what you're supposed to do what you're told to do. I knew exactly where I should be. I think there were 58 things left for me to do when I started to count backwards. I had counted forward, then I started to count backwards. I said, there's 58 things I have to do, and there's 47 days. So if I do 2 a day, I'm good. But if I should be fine. Just to make sure you're not stuck at the end. Like I remember some of the guys on your website, they would ask a question on the website, say, "Hey, I'm at this spot and I'm taking it," and somebody go, "You taking a July bar?" Yeah. I'm like, "Oh boy, man, that guy's like, he's way behind." Just march through it, and like you said, I had to give up a lot. I gave up a lot of things. My family came down, they went to Disney, and I stayed home. My son had hockey practice, I stayed home. I gave up a lot, but it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it.
Yeah, in that moment when you pass, it feels like, and you realize what an accomplishment it is. And I'm sure your son is incredibly proud of you.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. I mean, I remember when my kids were little tiny when I first got involved with all this, and they'd sit at the table with me and we'd study together. And those habits, I think, stay with them for a lifetime. So it's a big deal that way. I think that's pretty awesome. And I think that you were in our basic coaching course, so you were following the course and doing the materials, but we weren't working with you individually.
Yeah.
You were on the Facebook group, and you were able to ask questions and get assistance there. I sometimes I get questions from people, and they say, "Well, can you pass with the basic coaching?" And the answer is obviously you can. That course is everything that you need to pass. But you were really good about following directions, and I think that's one of the things that comes through in talking to you is that you just said, "I'm going to do what they're telling me to do, and not try to reinvent the wheel here." And I think that's pretty good advice for people, and not trying to rethink or redo something, right?
Right. I wanted to skip some of the reading really badly. When it was like 200 pages or whatever it was, I'm just like, I'm just going to skip it now. And no, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah. It's my guilt thing. Yeah.
You got me many times with that. Many times with the essays where you said, if you didn't write the essay, turn it off right now. And I went, sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
And I wrote it, and I did it. I did what you told me to do, and I came back, and I was mad at you, and you had that smile on your face, and you were doing your thing, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah. And probably your son is like, "Oh, I don't want to see that guy again." Terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go. Well, that's awesome. I'm very, very proud of you, and I'm very pleased for you. I know that this accomplishment doesn't come easily for anyone, and I think it's really wonderful to be able to share your story so that people can see that, you put in the hard work and you get the result, you get the reward that comes with it, and that, just dedicating yourself to doing it is something that is worthwhile, and getting to the final finish line feels really good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really feels like something came out of my body and said, "See you later." I'm going to jump in somebody else's body now. Somebody's taking this
the alien. Yeah, the alien jumps out. That's right. And if I could just, how did you come to find Celebration Bar Review? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. I did a bar review search, and yours came up, and it was the least expensive, but one of your testimonials was a guy in my position. He said something to the effect, "I'm 50 years old, I haven't taken a bar exam in 20 years, but I took Celebration Bar Review, and I passed first time." And I went, if that's not somebody telling me to sign up right now, I don't know. That's just me in a nutshell right there. 50, haven't taken a bar class in a long time, and give it a shot. Because again, I thought I was going to take it twice. So I saw you had, if you fail, you get to do it again. I assumed twice. I assumed first time's going to be law school, second time's going to be bar review.
We could charge you twice if you want.
Second time was free.
Oh, that's right. Rats. Okay. Well, I'm glad it worked out the way it did, and I'm glad that you found us and that you had this great success. And I really appreciate you sharing your story, because I do know there are other people out there that are going to hear your story and go, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's me too. I can do that," which is a wonderful thing. And we're just really excited for you and for your family. And I'm sure that this is going to be just like another opportunity and career for you. You're still a pretty young guy. So the opportunity to get out there and do stuff and enjoy the Florida sunshine, a little different than New York, isn't it?
Much, much different.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, listen, Tim, thank you again so much. I really appreciate this, and I know that our audience appreciates hearing from you. We all wish you the very best. Finish up the MPRE, get into the bar, and just have a blast, right?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. We'll be back again next time with another interview, and that's all for now. Bye-bye.